series of webinar in Africa. Zimbabwe, again, one of the most important country in the continent. The legends used for the presentation: double taxation avoidance agreement, EODBs, ease of doing business, foreign direct investment, FDI, GDP, ICT, information and communication technology, IMTT, intermediated money transfer tax, per capita GDP, PCP GDP, SDAC, South African Development Community. The schema for the evening would be a country overview. What are the main tax and incentive positions? What are the various cities which are prominent in Zimbabwe for the purpose of setting up of business, visas and permits, COVID-19 impact and reforms, and the conclusion way forward. The country overview in terms of population, the country is population around 1.5 crores as of 2020, which is accounting for 0.19% of the total world population. Population density is 38 per square kilometer. Real GDP, it's ranked 129th in the world, aggregating to $21.441 billion. Per capita GDP is around $1,463.986, which is 166th in the world. Out of the total population, 38.4% is urbanized population. The real wealth for the country is in coal, gold, diamond, platinum, copper, nickel, and number metallic and non-metallic ores. Currency unit, Zimbabwean dollar. As of today, the rate is 1 USD equals to 361.9 Zimbabwe dollar. Again, ease of doing business. We have the rankings as of 2016. The latest data was not available. The business environment, sectoral contribution to GDP is agriculture is 18.5%, like the other the other African countries. Mining comes to 4%, manufacturing 15.5%, tourism 6%. Ease of trading across borders is 159th in rank. Employment distribution more so from agriculture, which is 67.5%, and the balance 7.3 and 25.2 from industry and services respectively. Ease of doing business, overall 140th ranks. For starting business is 167th rank. The two main cities in Zimbabwe, the Harare, which is the capital of Zimbabwe, and Bulawayo. Harare is again famous for farming, agro-processing, automobile industry, automobile assembly plants, transport infrastructure, health services, hospitality services. Whereas on the other hand, Bulawayo is the industrial hub of Zimbabwe, more prominent for tourism, real estate, to transport, ICT, and manufacturing. As the city is in good need of good infrastructure, real estate in Bulawayo has a good opportunity to grow. So one promising sector for future in Bulawayo and in Zimbabwe is real estate, setting up of business. So there are totally 5 authorities whom you have to I would say report to or get registered under. The first being Chief Registrar of Company, Digital Registrar of Companies, Zimbabwe Revenue Authority, the tax collecting authority, National Social Security Authority and Manpower Development Fund, which is regulator for Social Security. Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe is a central bank. Zimbabwe Investment Authority, regulator of FDI, foreign direct investment in and out of Zimbabwe. Types of business structure. So there are various types: company, sole proprietor, and partnership. Company again has 4 different types: private limited liability company, private business corporation, public limited company, and branch or representative office. The more prominent being private LLC. Under sole proprietorship, there are no subtypes. Under partnership, there are general partnership and limited partnership. If we compare across all the types of constitution, time to separate: private LLC 3 to 4 weeks, public limited company it takes 12 to 12 weeks, branch takes 10 weeks, representative office takes 6 weeks. Legal liability, it's limited in case of private LLC and public limited company, unlimited in case of branch and representative office. Resident director requirement, there is no, so no local director is required for the purpose of incorporating these 3 constitution or three types of business entities. Minimum directors, 2 required in private LLC and public limited company. Branch representative, there is no requirement of director. Requirement of local directors, again minimum shareholders 1 and 2. So one is in private LLC, public limited. Again, minimum shareholders require are two. As I said, local directors, friends, there are requirements. So out of the total directors, the one should be a local director. Maximum foreign ownership 100%. So even a foreigner can incorporate a company, but he would require a local director. Only 49% in platinum and diamond sectors it is allowed. Minimum paid up share capital, no. Corporate tax rate of 24.72% across all the three. When you compare private business corporation, private liability limited liability company, which is appropriate for small to medium businesses, the private business corporation, whereas LLC is again suitable for medium to large businesses, can accommodate sole traders. So this private business corporation, we are talking about sole proprietorship. Private LLC only can accommodate two or more people. Legal status has a legal person of its own apart from its owner, has a legal person. So both have the different entity, distinct identity. Liability, limited liability for both private business corporation and LLC. Perpetual succession, yes, possible. Owners comprise of members and has members contribution. Comprise of directors and shareholders and has share capital. Prohibition for certain investors. Companies cannot hold a member's interest in a PBC, that is private business corporation. Only individuals can be members. Here, both in LLC, companies and individuals can be shareholders. Requirement of annual returns and audited financial statements is not required for private business corporation, but it is mandatory for private LLC. Prohibition on financial assistance to owners. No prohibition on a PBC to provide financial assistance for the acquisition of members' interest. Here again in LLC, there is a prohibition. How much time it takes for a private LLC to be incorporated in Zimbabwe? 5 days for reserving company name, 12 days for filing of memorandum and AOA, opening of bank account 1 day, register with Manpower Development Fund 2 days, register with National Social Security 1 day, registering with the tax authority it takes 4 days, and 7 days it takes for application for license and inspection by officer. So we are roughly talking about 30 around a month's time. We can be live in Zimbabwe when we are intending to incorporate a private LLC. Tax aspects and investment incentives. So when we see corporate tax rate, as we saw for private LLC and public limited company and branch office, about 24.72%. Mining companies with special mining lease is 15.45%. Capital gains tax 20% if asset was acquired after 2020, 22 February 2019, 5% if acquired before that. It has DTAs with 15 countries. Personal tax, it ranges from 20% to 45%. Threshold for taxation is USD 4,200. Other income business tax rate, CIT rate, which is 24.772%. VAT, standard tax rate is 14.5%. Registration threshold is Zimbabwean $1 million. Withholding tax 15% for dividend from unlisted company and 10% from listed company. Non-listed investors are currently exempted from withholding tax on interest. 15% for FTS and royalties. However, royalties it is on accrual basis. FTS it is on payment basis. Due date for filing returns. Tax year it follows a calendar year. So 31st December is the last day for a tax year to be considered in Zimbabwe. For corporates, the 30th April of the next year. For personal, again, same 30th April. VAT not later than 15th day of every succeeding month. So VAT every monthly return, for few of them, it would be once in 2 months. Some key ratios and key data. Tax to the GDP ratio have increased if we compare from 2017 to 18. However, there was a dip in 2016 to 17. But 2018 it is standing at 20.66%, which is like the highest in last 5 years, or rather from 2012 to last 6-7 years. Composition of net revenue by tax head, the majority comes from excise duty, 17.76%. Individuals then comprise again, so this is the normal income tax, which comprises of around 28% if we combine both the companies and individuals. VAT again comprises of 26%, and then the balance are the customs duty, royalties, carbon tax, other tax revenues. Incentives. So when we see from the incentives for foreign investors, There are tax holidays for investment designed to develop industrial parks and investment in tourism development zones for development on build, own, operate, and transfer model and build, operate, and transfer joint ventures. Investor will not pay tax for the first 5 years, after which they will pay tax at the rate of 15% per annum. So, friends, if you can see, corporate tax rate is 24.72%. But if you are um, having a business on BOOT model or having any joint venture which BOT model, a reduced tax rate will be applicable for the first 5 years. There won't be any tax. Thereafter, it will be 15%. Reduced tax rates are also available for manufacturing company which exports a certain percentage, a specified percentage. So if at all it's a manufacturing entity and you are exporting out of Zimbabwe, some concession is available in the tax rate. Duty exemption, government generally allows duty exemption in the importation of capital equipment and raw material used in the manufacture of goods for export. So VAT, again, exemption for VAT for a variety of products that includes agricultural produce, raw materials for further present goods in the production of agriculture, mining, industrial or manufactured products. So there is concessions that are available in VAT as well. Special economic zone, fiscal incentives for investments in SEZs, corporate tax, zero rated corporate tax, income tax for the first 5 years of operation. So first 5 years no tax, thereafter it would be 15%. Customs duty, duty free importation on capital and equipment. Import which includes raw material imported for use by companies set up in SEZ be imported duty free. The duty exemption will, however, not apply where such raw materials are produced in Zimbabwe. Special initial allowance, 50% of cost from year 1 and 25% subsequent 2 years. Employment employees tax exemption from non-resident tax on fees for services that are not locally available. Withholding tax on fees and royalties, exemption from non-resident tax on fees for services that are not locally available and on royalties. Capital gains, it's a zero rated CG tax. So if at all you are operating in SECs, these are the various benefits which are available. Prioritized sectors for SECs include agriculture, manufacturing, mining, tourism, services, and information communication technology. So the one which we saw was fiscal incentives. What are the various non-fiscal incentives? Water and energy supply, dedicated power and water supply for companies. Work permits for expatriates is available, which for an investment up to or above USD 50 million US, which is an investment threshold. Resident permits, automatic resident permit for investment above USD 50 million dollars. So these are the various non-fiscal incentives. Visas and permits. So what are the various visas available to either work or to do business in Zimbabwe? Category A. This category includes nationals of those countries that do not require a visa to travel to Zimbabwe. Category B is includes foreign nationals from select countries, that is US, UK, European Union, etc. Such nationals can get a visa on arrival at the airport. Category C, countries like in people coming from India, Pakistan, etc., would require country C to visit or to travel to Zimbabwe. Some of the most commonly used visas for foreign nationals are tourist visas and short-term business visas. In addition to those, Zimbabwe issued work permits for foreign employees. Categories for various types of expatriates are journalists, professionals with specialized skills that are not common in Zimbabwe, foreign researchers, short-term employees on 6-month contracts with local businesses. These are the various sectors for which work permits are available. Application for visa or permit is to be submitted to the Department of Immigration, Zimbabwe. What are the various FDI regulations or what are the forex controls and regulations in Zimbabwe? Zimbabwe's indigenization and economic empowerment law limits the amount of shares owned by foreigners in the diamonds and platinum sectors to 49%. As we have seen, platinum and diamond sectors, foreign ownership allowed only to the tune of 49%. Government has signaled it intend to remove these restrictions, but as of now, as of today, there is no confirmation. Foreign investors are free to invest in the non-research sectors without any restrictions. The government further reserves certain sectors such as passenger buses, taxis and car services, employment agencies, grain milling, bakeries, advertising, dairy processing, and estate agencies for Zimbabweans. The country screens FDI through Zimbabwe Investment Authority in liaison with relevant line ministries to confirm compliance with the country's investment regulations. Dividends are freely remittable. Zimbabwe does not promote or incentivize outward investment because of the tight foreign exchange constraint. Zimbabwe has investment treaty with 35 countries but ratified only 10 of these treaties. Earlier we saw 15 DTAAs, but ratified investment treaties are 10. Some statistics with regard to import exports of foreign inward and outward. Foreign direct investment net inflows as a percentage of GDP. It has reduced over a couple of decades. It was 6.94% if you can see in 1998, but as of now in 2019, if you see it's 1.30%. Top five export commodities are gold, tobacco, nickel mix, nickel ores and concentrates, ferrochromium. International trade, so exports are imports outweigh exports for Zimbabwe, and it has increased over last 10 years. In 2009 it was 3527 USD million, but almost doubled in 2018, the imports. However, exports have also doubled, but still they are lesser than imports. Top five export partners: Japan, UK, China, Singapore, and South Africa. Japan being the leading one. How COVID has impacted and what are the various reforms done by the government. Decline in GDP, as like the other countries, there has been contraction in GDP by 8.1%. If we compare with the 2019 data, uh, it further can contract to further 5% to 10% in 2020. Food prices have increased by 725%, resulting in a severe loss of purchasing power for the poor. The number of extreme poor is projected to increase from 6.6 million in 2019 to 7.6 million in 2020. In terms of trade, export of goods, mainly primary commodity, which accounted for an estimate 22% of GDP in 2018, are expected to be adversely affected because of COVID. And China being one of the major interested country in Zimbabwe because of COVID as well, their impact is being visible. Fiscal measures taken by government, stimulus package to provide liquidity to several sectors, expand the social safety nets and food grants, set up a health sector support fund. COVID-19 cash transfers are in the process of being provided to eligible beneficiaries. Various monetary measures, statutory reserve ratio was lowered from 5% to 2.5%. Policy rate was lowered from 35% to 10%, but was reverted back to 35% in July 2020. Private sector lending facility was increased. In March 2020, the RBZ, the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, moved to from a fixed exchange rate regime to a managed floating exchange rate system. Other measures, corporate tax credits for up to 50% for COVID-19 donations. These were some of the thoughts, friends. Concluding remarks on Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe's strategic location is in the SDAC region, provides a regional gateway and access to major regional markets. The country is a resource endowment with over 55 exploitable important minerals and material resources. However, FDI in mining sector is subject to certain restrictions, which the government is seeing to remove those restrictions. 91.75% youth literacy rate is something which is interesting to see about Zimbabwe. But there are some challenges, like there have been contraction in GDP growth, high inflation, high poverty rates, and high income inequality, which has pulled back Zimbabwe in terms of development and growth. However, government is planning to open up investments that create value additions and job creations. It is planning for favorable and transformative investment climate so that it can garner foreign investments in Zimbabwe. The priority sector for investment includes mining, manufacturing, agriculture, tourism, ICT, and infrastructure development. So these are the key areas where potential investment can be made. So these were some of the thoughts, friends, on doing business in Zimbabwe. Any questions, would be happy to answer. Thank you, friends. Have a great evening ahead.